Hey guys, Martin here bringing another Dragon Ball Z Dokkan battle video, and so today we're carrying on with looking at these new World Tournament units from this current tournament. We're going on to the EZAs now, so we're going to start off by looking at the AGL Kid Pan. Now, this unit is kind of interesting because we got to remember that these World Tournament cards are technically free-to-play units, so certain aspects of their builds could sometimes be things that would be quite good or could be quite effective if they were on like Dokkan Fest exclusives or LRs that have higher stats. But on free-to-play units can often be a bit of a liability. And the main thing for this Pan, what I'm talking about, is a lot of her kit revolves around, in order to get her best performance, I think, revolves around her being in slot 1, which obviously means as a free-to-play unit, she doesn't have like super high defense. Now she is on the Majin Buu Saga team because she's like the end of Z episodes, like Kid Pan, right? She's got some okay links, things like All in the Family. Other than that, actually, her links are kind of weird, especially for like Saiyan teams. In Fighter, like some Gohans will have, obviously, and then Saiyan Lineage is good, but like Supreme Power, World Tournament Reborn is definitely a weird link that not many units in the game have. I haven't given her any skill orbs. I gave mine mostly additional and then a bit of dodge. I think with her EZA now, it probably was a better build for her before anyway, but with her EZA now, I think full dodge is probably her best build. So her super attack is raise attack for 4 turns, greatly raise defense for 1 turn, does supreme damage to the enemy, and seals super attacks. And then when we look at her passive, smallest martial artist in the house is a great name for her passive. Attack and defense 200%, high chance to dodge, so 50%. Then she gets an extra 100% attack and defense and chance to dodge 20% within the same turn before the character receives an attack. So before she gets an attack, she has an extra 100% defense and attack. It's before she gets hit, basically. So the way it works is if she's, let's say she dodges an attack in slot 1, so she doesn't get hit at all. When she attacks, she'll do more damage because she's got that extra 100% buff. If she gets hit by the attack in slot 1, she will have that extra little bit of defense, which she'll then lose. But then she loses the attack buff, and she also loses the extra 20% chance to dodge. So worst case scenario is if you put her in slot 1 and there's like 4 attacks, and then she doesn't dodge the first one, because then you lose those stats and the dodge chance, and you've still got 3 more attacks like coming your way, right? She still has the 50% chance, and then of course separate chance for whatever your hidden potential dodge is. She does get 150% attack and defense for 5 turns after evading an attack, so that can be a pretty significant buff, because I believe it is just multiplicative for like whatever she's showing start of turn. So when she dodges, she'll get 150% of that, and then you get that for 5 turns. Then this is the thing here, key 3, all attacks become guaranteed crits and launches an additional attack that has a high chance to become a super as the first attacker in the turn, and then launches an additional super as the second or third attacker in the turn, and an additional attack 100% when the target enemy is sealed. So in slot 2 or 3, she gets a guaranteed additional. In slot 1, she gets extra key and guaranteed crits, and then has the attack that has a chance to become a super. So, I mean, I guess what you could do is, like, on turn 1, you could not put her in slot 1. So she's obviously going to have that attack buff when she does her first attack, and she's going to get a guaranteed additional super because she has the raise attack for 4 turns. It means that stuff carries over until the next time she's on rotation. So we can see here, linked up with the STR High School Gohan, she's at 252k defense. So if she gets 150%, when she gets hit, she's getting like another 375k defense when she gets hit, when she dodges, I should say. If she gets hit, she loses some defense, and then of course she greatly raises on her super attack effect as well. So she has the potential to get relatively decent defense as long as she actually does dodge the attacks in slot 1. So we'll see how we go here. We get the dodge, you can see the number at the bottom go up. And then we get a 7.6. Now the thing with this Pan that is going to be, I guess, interesting when it comes to like choosing where you like would you run her on the team is she's not a unit that provides any support. So realistically, she's just on the team like to do damage. And I guess you could, with the 70% chance, although it is only until she takes a hit, I guess you could use her as like a defensive unit, but this is what I was saying before, where the liability is if you get unlucky with that RNG, once she takes that first hit, she loses that extra 20% dodge chance. So if you are putting her in slot 1, like I said, against a bunch of attacks, and you get unlucky with that 70% and she takes the first one, you then only have a 50% chance that she dodges the rest of them. And it's still a coin flip, it's still 50-50, like you could still get lucky with those dodges. But that's definitely something to like bear in mind. If she was a unit that provided support to the team, I think that would be, she would be a lot better, or at least in a better spot for like being a viable or healthy option for some of these teams. Because one of the things you have to remember is Boo Saga obviously now is just cracked. Like Boo Saga's now moved up into that very top tier of like the best units in the best teams in the game, I think. And there are a huge line of units that I would think would make the team before this pan. So not to say that obviously she's not a good, like a good or at least even a decent unit, because some of these World Tournament EZAs have been super hit or miss. In fact, to be honest, there's very few of them that are actually really good. And Pan seems like somewhat decent. The fact that she has greatly raises her super attack effect is obviously good. You get a couple of supers off within the turn, then she potentially is going to have very good defense. She gets that extra defense, 150% for 5 turns after getting a dodge. So we'll see once we go into the next turn, her start of turn defense. And then the fact that she is greatly raising on super is obviously quite good. And then having that little bit of extra attack before she gets hit means if you are using her as a slot 1 unit, as long as she is dodging, then her attack stat can be a lot higher. Whereas that's the other downside as well, really, like because she keeps those stacks from her super attack because it's raised attack for 4 turns. You could get like a god RNG turn where she does like the 3 supers in the first turn, and then when you get onto this turn, she gets hit in slot 1, so then loses a big chunk of her attack, which would obviously not be ideal. So she starts off at 632k start of turn here with that like floating buff, right, from the dodging and attack and getting the 150% for 5 turns. So if we do this, obviously ideally we want to be dodging this attack in slot 1 here. And there we go. Alright, so 8.35. And I mean, this is the thing I was saying is, like, essentially when it comes down to, like, what are you going to use her on the team for? Like, she's not a support. She's got relatively good defensive ability in the sense that you have that 70% chance to dodge against the first attack specifically. So that can be kind of scary. But realistically, when you think about, like, roles for units and, like, why am I running this unit on the team? If she's not giving support and she's not, like, a tank, then realistically you want those units to be like doing damage, and her damage is not great. I remember like seeing a comment, because I try and like keep a more of an open mind when it is free to play units as well, specifically because I saw a comment recently, it might have been for a 55% Dokkan Fest or something, I can't remember, but of somebody saying like, it was like, bro still thinks 10 million attack stats are good, which I mean is not only a kind of a scary sign of like the power creep, but for a free to play unit, depending what their role on the team is, hitting around 10 million I would say is very good for like a free to play character. And this Pan, obviously seeing her on this turn dodging the attack in slot 1, having a couple of buffs from the previous turn, and she was up to like 8 point something. Obviously that's not like super crazy, but the negative aspect to that is that that's kind of all she's doing on the team. Something that would have been very good would be giving her, I mean, I know like it's always such a go-to for every EZA to be like, they should have just given them guard or damage reduction, but like maybe guard in slot 1 or something, but then even that's not going to be enough, right, for her to survive big super attacks if she's not dodging those hits. But even giving her something like buffing all allies attack and defense with like her super attack effect or something to give you another reason to like put her in slot 1, but with her like awkward link set and stuff as well, I think it's definitely not an ideal setup. Her only 200% leads, other than the Gotenks, because obviously now he's a 200% lead for Boo Saga, are the physical Ultimate Gohan and then the Tech 23rd World Tournament Goku, and both of those are teams that like you don't really run anymore. So, I mean, she's not exactly a hot commodity, like top choice for some of these teams. 717k start of turn with the support now from Int Ultimate Gohan as well is pretty nice. So we can get a decent heal here with all of the same type orbs that we can get. And she got, what, 2 supers last turn as well. So, but yeah, see, there's the problem. You see the numbers at the bottom go down. You take a hit, you lose a bunch of attack, and she's at 7.5. So, would have been a little bit, quite a decent bit higher than that if we had actually dodged. And that's where I think the biggest flaw in her kit probably comes in. Because you want to put her in slot 1, you want to get that dodge, especially if the 5 turns thing has run out, so then you need to get another dodge to like refresh it. But then she takes a hit, and then you just lose a bunch of her stats, which then, again, makes her even worse at like whatever her role on the team is going to be. She then loses a bunch of her damage output, which I think is definitely not ideal. So this AGL pan, in the terms of World Tournament EZAs, I don't think we would oversimplify it quite that much, but if we had the 3 tiers of like really, really good World Tournament EZAs, of which there's probably, what, Mr. Boo, and that might almost even be it. And then we have like a medium section in the middle, and then all the like really bad ones as the bottom, like 3rd tier. I would say if we were going to simplify it like that much, Pan would be in the middle. I don't think she's definitely a unit that is just completely terrible, but the biggest problem with her, and it is similar to the Hellfighter 17 that we talked about yesterday with his awakening, is the biggest problem I think really with her is that she's not anything exceptional enough to get a spot on the team that you would be running her on. Because this is the thing, I always do my showcases on 200% leads because I want to see like the full potential for the unit, like the numbers that they put out. But realistically, like, this Boo Saga team is the only 200% team that you're like that is meta relevant at the moment anyway, and you're probably not running her on this team over some of the other options. So then when it comes to some of these other 170 teams, if you were running things like Hybrid Saiyans or like World Tournaments, not really a team that gets run. Hybrid Saiyans obviously has some insane options, Bond of Parent and Child as well. Youth is a category that is gets some buffs every now and then, but it's definitely not like in a crazy spot right now or anything. So now she's going to need her buff to be refreshed, right? Because it's been 5 turns, so she's now down to only having 252k. Now the worst case scenario would be on a turn like this, where if there's only the 1 hit in slot 1 and she gets hit by it, because then not only do you not get that buff for dodging, but you lose the attack and everything as well. But I mean, she's been hovering consistently around like 7 to 8 million attack, which again, for a free-to-play character, especially one that has the potential for like a built-in additional, is definitely not bad. And like the guaranteed crits in slot 1 is quite good. And until you take a hit, like, she's still got 70% chance to dodge. So there you go, dodged every attack in slot 1 on that turn. That is definitely very, very good. So I don't know, with dodge units, it's all down to RNG. It's kind of like the, in Super Saiyan 3 Angel Goku with his EZA, talking about comparing him to Majin Vegeta, where Majin Vegeta is a much better solid unit that will tank hits, whereas Goku could dodge everything, and then you're taking 0 damage. But when he doesn't dodge in certain situations, then it's like game over. Whereas Majin Vegeta can tank against really hard hitting stuff. And this Pan, like, if we were in a tougher event and we had a performance like this turn, where she just dodges every single attack in slot 1, then it's kind of hard to argue that she's not that good. Like, she's doing her job quite effectively in that case. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where RNG is going to play a huge factor, and against, we're not even doing a particularly tough event. Once we get into the actual difficult events, if she starts taking these hits in slot 1, then you're going to be taking a lot of damage, and I just don't think there's a lot of necessity to run her on any of these teams where you wouldn't just be running a better unit. So I feel like I said this yesterday with the Hellfire 17 Awakening, but it feels like maybe not so much with her. I think it's just the character choice, because with this exact kit, if she was like a Super Saiyan Gohan or something, she would obviously be on mostly the same categories apart from like youth, I guess, unless it was like a Kid Gohan. You know, at least you could be on teams like Super Saiyans and stuff like that, but even then that team has a ton of crazy options. It just feels like this is one of those characters where even with a relatively good design, she's not going to earn a spot on the team unless her kit is like really, really good. Like, again, like we talked about yesterday, Mr. Boo, when he came out, his EZA, people straight away were like, yes, this guy's EZA is really good. I want to put him on this particular team build. Whereas with Pan, it's like, what team do we necessarily want to put her on? I mean, Majin Buu Saga, way more powerful options available. But she could definitely still be useful. Category missions, things like youth and stuff like that, she could certainly be an interesting option. But yeah, like I say, World Tournament units, I think now, for them to make their way onto some of these bigger, stronger, like popular category teams, their EZAs have to be like really, really good, or provide something to the team that other units maybe aren't. Like her being in slot 1, maybe she could be giving support to the rotation, even have the like support for 2 turns, like attack, super attack effect or something would be really good. But I think she's definitely runnable. Like, I mean, this event again isn't the hardest, but we've used her in slot 1 throughout this whole run, and she's been fairly consistently dodging. She dodged the super in slot 1 there from Boo Piccolo. Now, obviously, if she doesn't dodge that, then she's just dead, which is going to be the case for any of the sort of really tough endgame events. But it's kind of the same. I guess it is that UI Goku meme, right? Like, even UI Goku's 70% chance to dodge, but if they don't dodge, you can get taken out. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think of the AGL Kid Pan down below in the comment section. I think as far as World Tournament EZAs go, she's definitely not as bad as some of the ones that we've had over the last few World Tournaments, but she just doesn't really have, you know, a solid set place where you're definitely going to be running her, where she kind of earns a spot on that team. But let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. So that is going to be it for the video, guys. This has been the Masked Ningen. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Check out the links down below, and I will see you all again soon. Have a good one.